With right sides together, pin sleeve to armhole edge with center small dot at shoulder seam, matching underarm seams, notches, and remaining small dots. Pull up ease stitches to fit. Begin by turning the garment wrong side out and the sleeve right side out. Begin by matching the underarm seam, pinning both seam allowances to secure. Then match notches and pin to secure again. Pins should go in from the sleeve side for ease of sewing in the next step. Match the two side dots, then the center dot at the shoulder seam. Pin each dot to secure. When pinning at the shoulder seam, be sure that the shoulder seam allowance is pressed in the correct direction. Pin on the seam allowance to secure. Pin sleeve to side front and side back seams, ensuring that seam allowances are to the correct direction, front or back. Begin the easing process on either side of the shoulder seam. Pull ease stitches gently to slightly reduce the fullness in the sleeve. Then pin sleeve to armhole to secure. Continue around the sleeve, pulling the ease stitches and distributing fullness. Avoid puckers and tucks that will show in the seam by evening fullness along ease stitching. Continue pinning the sleeve to the armhole, distributing fullness by pulling the two sets of ease stitches as needed. Repeat the same process on the other sleeve, or move on to sewing this first sleeve. Stitch at 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Then stitch again at 1/2 inch seam allowance. Clip between notches, press along seam allowance to shrink fullness, and finish with serger. Begin sewing using the stretch stitch setting at the underarm seam. You may need to pull slightly to get going initially. Be sure to stay even along the 5/8 inch line as you sew this first set of stitches. Remove pins as you go, doing your best not to sew over them. Be sure to monitor both the sleeve and shirt armhole for puckers and tucks. Stop frequently to realign fabric and remember to sew slowly. As you return to where you started, be sure to align stitches so that you will sew over the beginning of the seam to secure the stitches. Once you have sewn the first set of armhole stitches, clip the long ease stitching threads so they are no longer in your way. Sew the second set of stitches at 1/2 inch seam allowance, beginning again at the underarm seam. Be sure to align stitches at end with stitches at beginning to secure the seam. Clip between notches, close to, but not through, the second set of stitches to help the sleeve turn smoothly. Press out fullness only in the seam allowance. Use a higher heat and steam to shrink the fabric slightly so it will lay flat. Be sure not to press the sleeve or shirt with this higher heat to avoid damage. Finish the edge of the armhole by serging from one notch to the other. Do not serge between notches where you clipped. Repeat the same process on the other sleeve.